Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Essex County College's annual flag raising for African History Month. We have the red, black, and green here, and we have it twice. It's twice as nice, so we have it twice this year. My name is Dr. Akil Kalfani. I'm the director of the Africana Institute here. I'm also the director of the Center for Global Education and Experiences and a professor of sociology. We're here today to continue our celebration of African history and culture, and we invite all the students and faculty and staff to the programs we've had this month. We started off the end of last month, really, with the celebration of Martin Luther King Jr., which is our annual memorial program. Then yesterday I kicked off a program with student life and activities. They had a talk, and we talked about black voting and why black vote matters, and it was a great discussion we had. We're bringing vending back. So for those of you who like to have the vendors here, we have a scaled down program. We're going to have vendors here twice in February and once in the beginning of March. So they'll be here next week, and they'll be here again on the 25th, which is a Friday. Payday. So save up your money, come visit some vendors. We're going to have different vendors each day. So that each time you're going to see there's going to be different vendors. This celebration of African History Month, we want to make sure that, we don't have all the programs that we've had in the past. We don't have all the space. We're in a pandemic. We're still recovering. So we invite you all to think differently, do differently. We're going to have some different kinds of ways to celebrate. And I want to remind you that African History Month is not just something we celebrate in February. We celebrate it all year long. When Carter G. Woodson started Negro History Week, his idea was to have a time to reflect upon the history and culture of people of African descent. And we get confused sometimes, and we want to reflect on that February is the shortest month. No, Carter G. Woodson didn't say that. Carter G. Woodson said, take the full year, celebrate African history and culture, and then come back during February and report on what you've done, what you've learned, what you've explored. So here we are during this time. We're celebrating and reporting on what's happened and what's going to be happening in the future. So we're going to continue to develop these programs. We haven't really had any students to be able to go abroad, but we're looking to hope that either in the summer or at the beginning of next year, we're going to have students going abroad again. We had a trip planned going to South Africa. We had another trip planned going to Egypt. Both of those trips got canceled. So if you think about it, we have a display over here now, and maybe we'll get some footage of that a little bit later. But that is a trip that happened. We're talking about from Cape to Cairo. So we're going from one end of the continent to another in our reflections and celebration. And so we're going to make sure we try to get back there and do that again. I traveled to South Africa just before the pandemic to set up the trip for students in the summer of 2020. And then by March, everything was closed. So we're looking forward to having the opportunity to bring this back into fruition. And this is for you all, the students, that we want to create these opportunities for you to go and think and do things. And if we can't go abroad, we're going to do some things right here. We're going to go down to Washington, D.C., and we'll see if we can get some tickets to get into the museum. But even if we can't get there, there's several other museums that maybe you don't know about that are important for us to visit. I've set up trips before. We went to the African burial ground in Washington and in New York City. So we can do that. That's opened back up again. They had some reconstruction that was going on. And so then they reopened that this summer. And so then that will be a great place for us to visit and think about African history and culture. We have other places right here in Jersey that we can look at and begin to explore and do. And so I encourage you all to stay tuned, stop by the Africana Institute, and learn some of the things that we have going on. One of the things that we did this semester that is it's going to be up for March and maybe into April is that we have an art display here on the ground level, and it's called Pan-Africana in 9 boxes. So we encourage you to come and check it out. We have a beautiful display of African history and culture, not just from the continent, but from the islands as well. So you'll see stuff from Antigua, stuff from Haiti, from Cuba, all the places where African culture is explored. you're going to see artifacts from. And then we're going to do a virtual tour of the Africana Institute at the end of the month. That's going to be on the 25th, the same day as the last vending for the month. So make sure you come by and check that out. You can check it out online, or you can pop by in the office. And we're going to do this virtual tour. It's going to be fantastic. We'll drop some pictures online so that you can see the dates and times of those things. That it gives an opportunity for folks to explore all the artifacts. You know, one of the things that maybe a lot of people don't know is just before the pandemic, we got a donation in the Africana Institute for over $25,000 worth of African art, right? So the folks that donated that, former professor here, Edith Freeman, her husband donated this artwork to the Africana Institute, so we have that artwork in the Institute now for folks to check out. So we thank them for the donation, and it took a little while to get everything processed, but now it's processed. Some of the artifacts are on display in the boxes out here. Some of it is on display at the Africana Institute, and some of it we have so much we have to just keep on hold for a moment. So there'll be times over the years that we're going to have some of the artwork displayed. But during the virtual tour, we're going to display much of it. So I encourage you to make sure you either tune in or drop by the Africana Institute so you can see the work that we've been doing. The other things that I want to talk about in terms of African history and culture, and we're going to have to be brief here today, but that you know, this flag that's flowing beside it and above me here, these colors came up by Marcus Garvey. So this is the flag that Garvey helped us to understand about paying tribute and respect to African people who came over through Middle Passage and some who died along the way. So the red is for the blood for the people, the black represents the people and the culture of them, and then the green represents the land and the wealth that was taken. So, you know, some people refer to it as a Pan-African flag. Garvey didn't even use the word, but the point is that it represents the history and culture of African people. When you look around the African continent, you see they use versions of this flag in Ghana and other places. They have the red, black, and green, and some places use gold, and gold represents the material wealth that's taken from the continent. And so then these are some of the things that we can look at and see that there is all around us, that there is history and culture, and that we need to celebrate, right? We always celebrate Kwanzaa, but Kwanzaa is not even something that we celebrate just for during December, that those principles of Kwanzaa are the things that we want to do throughout the year. We want the students to be engaged and learn about them. There's going to be a marching rally that the People's Organization for Prodigals is doing. And I encourage students to get involved because it's about voting, it's about looking at people not having enough money to stay in their houses. It's about the problems with rent, the problems with the recovery from the pandemic. All these things are going to be talked about in this marching rally. And students have the ability to engage and be engaged in the world around them and to talk and think about how they can uplift them. And this is really what the struggles for African people have been and what have continued to be. I also am the chair of the Social Justice Council. And when we think about what the Social Justice Council is about, it's making sure that we operate not just in the Africana Institute, but across the entire institution with a social justice framework, with a social justice mentality. And so when we're teaching our classes, when we're offering programs, when we're recruiting students, we want to think about this whole idea of social justice and make sure that we're looking to uplift students and make sure they feel incorporated into the institution, making sure that they have the ability to take their own space and place outside of the confines of this building, and they can able to do those things out in the real world. So we want to provide the skill set, we want to provide the knowledge, we want to provide the tools, and some of those tools have to do with the resources of the people. So each one of us is a resource to our students. And so that we're tasked to know something about the things that our students go through. And part of that in terms of African History Month is knowing the history and culture of people of African descent. If you want to know American history, then you must know something about African history and culture, because there is no American society without the contributions of people of African descent. And so then that great history and insight are some of the things that we need to be able to explore and share with others. And then when we don't know, then we take the initiative to go and learn more, right? The artifacts, in fact, that you'll you'll see, give us some examples of that. That is, when we look at it, we can see and explore that it's all about things going on all throughout the diaspora. And that they speak not just of culture, but they speak of the struggles, right? The struggles of people who have been confronted with racism and confronted with oppressive realities, and that have overcome and challenged and confronted those things. So what we do is we need to continue to celebrate those things, and that we need to realize that the things that they've done are the things that make up the spaces and places for where we are. In fact, oftentimes we forget that even Essex County College, right? Essex County College is here because it came about during the struggles in the 60s. It came about during the struggles when there was a rebellion right here in the city of Newark in 1967. That the way this building is even constructed has to do that. It speaks to that. So that there's not a lot of windows on the outside of this building because there was the fear, right? Some of this, the construction was built within the context of wanting to insulate this building and the people inside, and understanding that this struggle for having this building here was also part of that, because there was a push to have Essex County College be out in West Caldwell or in the suburbs where our other campus is, and then have that be the main campus. But when you look at it and the struggles, the people that fought to make it here, that those struggles to have this campus where it is today, how many thousands and thousands of students have been educated because of it was here? And how many people would, in the African American, Latino community, would not have had those same opportunities if this campus had been elsewhere, right? So it's important that it was here, and it's important that the struggle that they fought to bring it here. And that struggle is exemplary of the struggle that we talk about now, that gave a talk the other day on voting rights, right? That you have to fight for the right to vote. You have to fight to maintain the right to vote. And the right to vote was secured by the Constitution, right? By the amendments of the Constitution. But that there's extra legal measures that folks put in to keep you from voting. And so now that there's still the same fight is going on today. And so then that struggle was the struggle of the civil rights movement in the 60s. Right? So the folks who died for us to be here, died for us to have the right to vote, who were in prison for a long time. So there's some people who were political prisoners who are still in jail today because they were fighting for us to have the right to vote, fighting for us to have the right to be able to move around, fighting for us to have equality in society, fighting to desegregate schools, making sure that everybody had equitable opportunity to get education. And so then Carter G. Woodson asked you, what did you learn over the past year? What did you come to understand about our history and culture that then you are willing to step outside your comfort zone to make sure that somebody else has that same opportunity? Right? It's not about what they did then, it's about what you and I do today. So what are you willing to do? This flag is raised so as to remind you that the struggle continues, to remind you that you have a place in the struggle, and that if you want to do so, that you have to do like just not learning about math, learn about all the things that took to get that math in that place, right? Even the Pythagoras theorem. You want to learn math. The Pythagoras didn't invent the Pythagoras theorem. He studied in ancient Egypt or Kemet for 22 years. And the Pythagoras theorem was used to build the pyramids, right? So when we think about that kind of knowledge, that's another thing we gain. We have to look to see that there's African history, not just in social studies, not just in literature, but in every place you look. You go outside and you'll see it right in front of you. You see the stoplight. Well, Garrett A. Morgan designed that, an African American. But we don't know these kinds of things oftentimes. And so we don't pay tribute to the fact that those stoplights, when I went to Burkina Faso in the beginning of January, they got stoplights there. When I took students to China, they have stoplights there. We went to Europe, there's stoplights there. Why? Because there was a brother who invented the stoplight. And then it's been modified over the years. But we have lights in here. Now most of them are LED lights, but right in West Orange, there was a person named Louis Latimer who invented the light filament that took Edison's light filament to the next level, because Edison's light filament only lasted a short period of time. But Latimer's light filament would last a months. And so then that was the transition for the lighting system that we have across the world because of Latimer and his work with Edison and other folks. That these are the things that we look at and see what are the other contributions that we have that African people have made it possible for us to do the things that we do today. We can do a whole long thing on inventions. There's lots of inventions that are made by African Americans that we don't even understand, we don't know about. And maybe we'll do that. We did that many years ago. I did a whole program on inventions. But maybe we'll bring that back one day so that we have a time to just go over the litany of inventions. And there's a great tour that my brother does that shows, it actually portrays all those inventions and has them there for you to look at and touch and see and smell and feel, because there's so many different things that are available for us. So really, today I want just to reflect on the fact that we're here celebrating African history and culture. We're going to do this for the rest of February, but for me, it's not just the rest of February, it's 365 days a year. And so then I encourage you all to come to Essex County College, check out the things that we have to offer. You'll see that we have some great programs. And as you are here participating with us, we celebrate. We're going to play a little music as we go out from here today. But thank you for joining us, and look forward to the rest of the programs throughout the month. We have a great speaker who's coming next week, Wednesday. It's going to be a virtual program. The flyers will be out. Her name is Dr. LaFrancis Roger Rose, and she is the president and founder of she's one of the founding members of the Association of Black Sociologists. She was a past president, but she also was the founder of the Black Women's Congress, and so that they're celebrating all the work that they've been doing over the years. So we'll have her here. She's going to be here. She's going to be online. It'll be 10 o'clock next week, Wednesday. So look out for that presentation. It's going to be powerful. And I just want to say thank you all for continuing to support the work of the Africana Institute. And for those of you out there watching this on TV or on social media, come join us at Essex County College. We're doing some powerful things. You're always welcome. Students are first.